Joining us now is Senior Research Fellow at the American Institute for Economic Research, Dr. Peter Earle. Doctor, great to have you.
Good afternoon, Kelly. How's everything?
Well, it's great. And I wanted to ask you, we know this is a way the president has negotiated deals in the past, throwing the threat out there, negotiating with sellers on the other side. It appears ramping up copper production in the U.S. to meet demand would be a lengthy process. What's your read on the president's moves? Is this a real threat or is this negotiation?
Well, I mean, after the past 6 or so months, it's very difficult to know. These things, they're put on, they take off. I mean, copper is an industrial metal, as everyone knows. It's probably the most indispensable resource in the modern global economy, other than maybe oil. It's used in everything from household plumbing to automotive wiring, electric vehicle batteries, power grids, everything else. And I mean, the U.S. only has the ability to mine and refine and smelt a small amount. So we wind up buying most of it overseas. And the estimates I've seen are that it would take about 10 years to develop the infrastructure to produce the amount that we import. So this is a very, very serious thing. It might just be leverage, but if it's not, I mean, I would expect that the prices of a lot of things related to copper, which is most things really, would go up soon.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, to your point, we'll take the president at his word with this. A number of sectors would be impacted, as you said. Construction, semiconductors, EV vehicles. Some economists say this is going to drive up energy costs and the costs of appliances and EVs in particular, and may trigger inflation. What are your thoughts on those concerns specifically?
So the likelihood of driving up prices, if this was followed through, I think is very high. I think it's almost certain that certain prices would rise, and it would be widespread because of the amount of goods that copper is used in. But it wouldn't be inflation, because typically what happens when you get tariffs is you get a single sort of jump in price, and then the market adjusts around it. So there would be higher prices in certain goods, but that would be it. Usually inflation means, systematically rising prices over time. If we had a situation where prices on copper went up and then there was retaliation and then prices, tariffs on copper were raised again, then we could have something that looks like inflation. But, with respect to that, the Fed is charged with the job of fighting inflation. One of the reasons that the Fed hasn't done anything just yet is because tariff prices are a supply side issue, and the Fed's job is to deal with demand side issues. So while we could see prices higher because of this, it wouldn't be inflation and it wouldn't look like inflation, but it would still be painful for people who would have to pay a lot for certain goods.
Yeah, and those are the major concerns. The president posted this to Truth Social. I wanted to read just a clip. It says copper is necessary for semiconductors, aircraft, ships, ammunition, data centers, lithium-ion batteries, radar systems, missile defense systems, even hypersonic weapons, of which we are building many. Copper is the second most used material by the Department of Defense. Why did our foolish and sleepy leaders decimate this important industry? What are your thoughts on his points here, Doctor? Do you believe this may be an issue of national security?
Well, I mean, it is clearly, but the solution that I would tend toward would be, towards putting effort into developing those before you raise the prices. I mean, when we saw the price, the tariff amount yesterday of 50%, what we saw was prices of the futures markets in Chicago spiked up. It was the biggest one-day move in copper history, which means that there's a lot of copper users that are trying to lock in prices here. And the prices of copper futures in China fell because markets in China anticipate getting more China because it's going to be cheaper to sell there than in the U.S. So this is a kind of a knee-jerk reaction, a more systematic and sort of incremental process over time of, building more copper mines and bringing our smelting capacity up to speed over time would be better than to just do this overnight, because all this is going to do is send copper away and not toward the United States.
Well, I wanted to ask you also, what would it take to ramp up production here in the U.S.? Again, we receive such a significant portion of our copper from other countries. How long do you think it would take to get operations here up and running to make us self-sustainable?
So if that were indeed the thing that was sought, I mean, it would take years. The estimate I saw, as I mentioned, was about 10 years to get all of that because mining is very capital intensive. You'd have to have the professionals who can do that. You need the smelting capacity. There's a whole lot of steps in the term structure of production for copper. But I mean, it would take years to do. So this sort of voluntary severing of the U.S. from global copper markets is kind of a self-defeating proposition. Let's hope that this was simply meant as a way of making copper exporters to the U.S., more cognizant of their role and maybe forcing them to make a deal. Because if this is what's intended, a 50% tariff on copper, I mean, we're going to have a lot less copper than we did before at lower prices.
Yeah. After Liberation Day, the White House mentioned there'd be 90 trade deals in 90 days. I'm wondering, do you think we'll start to see some more of those deals here soon? We know that would put some pressure on this topic as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wondering why more nations haven't come forward. I mean, I think part of it has to do with not wanting to look servile in the face of their own populations. But also, I wonder if, with only 2 deals completed right now, I think it's England and Vietnam. I wonder if some of the nations think that, maybe those deals haven't been good enough that they should rush to the door to make a deal. I wonder if they also think all they have to do is basically, sort of hold out until prices start to rise in the U.S. and maybe they can, beat having to form a deal because American consumers will revolt at higher prices. It's hard to say, but I mean, the more the president says that August 1st is the cutoff, I think the more they're going to feel pressure to do that because most of these nations that he's trying to cut deal with are much smaller than ours. They're much less economically diversified. And so they're going to be much more vulnerable to the cost of tariffs ultimately than we are, although we're going to feel it too.
Yeah, well, we know those letters are going out. It's a major game of chicken. We will wait and see here. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Earle. Great to have you.